Are we live? Yeah, we're live. Oh, yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. I bet everybody remembers that, huh? Are we live?
Somehow.
Somehow, Quentin returned to streaming. Welcome to Fandom Flow, where all the fans come to chill. That's the tagline.
All
Or
right.
That's the tagline I want to use, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot going on, a lot coming out soon. There's like a long list of stuff coming out in July, honestly. Let's see. What? Well, Superman comes out in July.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic Four, Strange New Worlds. I mean, those are three big things. Yeah. So, and then Ironheart's coming out in this month on the 24th. Right. So
you said big things. You said big things.
I said big. Yeah. Well.
I didn't
Okay.
want the one to say it.
Yeah. Well, did you see the latest trailer?
I did not.
No.
No.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
They're dressing it up nicely, and I think a little bit better than. I want to say they dressed it up nothing better than Lucasfilm dressed up Acolyte. I think.
Well, I mean, a lower bar, I guess, right?
I mean, I don't know. They're she's supposed to be legendary, supposedly from the trailer.
Iconic.
Iconic.
Yep. Well, I'm just curious, like how much like actual like promotion did everyone actually see out there for Ironheart so far? I mean, because I feel like that, I don't know, like some stuff they pushed pretty hard on, and some stuff that they didn't push as nearly as hard on. I think. Well, I'm not sure it's because of the fatigue or whatever the case is. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in New York, so do you see it in the subway?
Not really. I haven't seen much in the subway. Most of what I see is on like ads on either social media or on like YouTube, basically. So
they don't have any billboards up. They don't have any posters up. None of that.
I mean, I'm not in Times Square much anymore, so I think there is one there, but I haven't seen it in person. So
they're doing terribly with the marketing thing. This is like
they didn't even start marketing it until a month before it was coming out. It's actually been sitting in the can for like a year.
Right,
exactly. Yeah.
And they wonder why it's going to fail. It's
well, maybe they could have started with like a better character.
Yeah, exactly. The character has never been popular. It was popular in the comics. I don't understand why just rehash something that never worked. Like we just keep going over and over with this.
Yeah. I mean, the comic book was okay. I sped through that first run fairly quickly, and it was okay. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. So let me. But I agree. They want something compelling.
I was listening to other people. I didn't read the comic, so
okay.
Got it right off the rip. Like I was listening to other people on that.
Yeah, no, but they're not people weren't flocking to the stores to pick up the comic, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there being like a lot of like back and forth online about that when that character premiered. Like there was a lot of why are we doing this? Tony Stark's supposed to be Iron Man. Like why do we need this alternate take on the character? There was a lot of weird. Well, I don't want to say it's weird, but I mean it's fair. It's a fair question to ask, but it's also like, what is the company supposed to do? At some point they feel like I need to move on with more characters or add something new. The problem is Marvel always brings somebody back. So it's not like they killed off Tony Stark and he was going to stay dead,
I don't know what happened with Marvel. They had a winning formula for a decade. And then, I don't know. It's really hard to keep up, I guess,
It's not like they are suffering from a lack of characters. There's plenty of characters. You don't have to bring out a derivative version of a character. You can just move on to a different character. But for some reason, they just want to give us the Chat GPT character.
It's market share, right? They say, okay, we have these fans, we have this lot of fans. How can we bring these other people in, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, here's this character that looks like you. Okay, great. But why did you undermine somebody else's favorite character to do that? Kind of situation. It's similar with Miles Morales and Spider-Man. Peter Parker, right? They don't call Miles Morales Spider-Man. They just call him Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Well, I think also like when they were putting in like the initial breadcrumbs leading up to Infinity War and whatnot, like I feel like think of it this way: like you're throwing stuff like out on a field, right?
Yeah.
And so basically, but they're putting way too much distance between the points or dots of connectivity, and so therefore that much more string has to get unraveled, and people just don't have patience to kind of play that super long game, because it's like I feel like they put twice as much distance as far as that connectivity is concerned between those properties, I think. Because I mean, maybe because people who get nerdy and they get into the weeds about this kind of thing, they might say, "Oh, this connect this, this," and then, but then in the end, most people are like, "Well, why should I even care?" Kind of thing.
Right. And that's kind of where they're going to end up with movies, because it's like, who wants to wait forever for something to build over the course of 5 or 6 years, right? I mean, we did it with the Infinity War saga, but that didn't take as much detail, because you're not talking about a multiversal kind of situation. You don't have to be like, oh, okay, there's all these different universes that exist, different versions of the characters. This is what's happening in this one. This is what, like, they'd have to find a way to expedite that, which they tried like horribly at. And it's just like Loki didn't really connect to anything, right? It's like there's like no actual connectivity between Loki and all the other things that they put out.
Connected to Kang.
No, it did and it didn't, though, because Quantumania didn't connect to Loki at all, and in any sense. Like they just want you to think, oh, okay, something happened in Loki, and it affected everything else.
I mean, at this point, if we get a payoff in Doomsday, like that'll be a little bit of icing on the cake, maybe. So
hey, it seems like maybe we might get something in Doomsday that's regarding to Loki, because
maybe
it's going to be in the show. So I mean,
might be a little too late. Who knows, though? Yeah, he is in there. That's what they say, at least. But it might just be a cameo.
The list of chairs. So I mean,
yep.
What a disaster that was.
His chair is going to be in the movie, and we'll all be like, yes. The Loki chairs.
There must be like so many like parodies out there. I haven't watched them, but there must be like a whole like subreddit out there of just like, who else can be out of the chair? Right? Okay, it's Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck.
I think people missed the boat on that, because at this point, when you check Instagram, there's like a flood of these VO3 videos out right now. Right, of just a bunch of AI content that people make.
Man, those are everywhere.
Yeah, just like parody, everything, right? So somebody should actually do that and kind of ride that wave, because that would have been funny as well. But I mean, it's a little late now, but
at the time it would have been perfect. Yeah.
At the time, it would have been hilarious if they did that. Like just like have Donald Duck's name on there, just like a bunch of random characters that they're not really going to be in there.
Have like a frozen Walt Disney head on a chair, right?
Yeah, sure. That would have worked.
Disney is actually one of the companies that's suing, I guess, Midjourney.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. They are. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
So yeah, it probably is a little bit too late to have done all of those.
Yeah, it's a little too late. Yeah. I mean, they can still do it. I mean, they're in the middle of the lawsuit. It's not like they've stopped, right? They actually have to have a court order telling them to not do something before they'll cease and desist, right? So,
well, I mean, honestly, this is just my opinion. I really do think that Disney, I can only speak what I'm thinking on Disney. I think Disney really just wants to buy the company.
Probably.
That's why they're doing this. And the other ones are probably really like, we're trying to stop them. Because, I mean, they're all wanting to use AI now. I mean, look at the latest Fantastic Four commercial that came out with Giganto. I think that was clearly AI.
Giganto? You mean Galactus? Or was it?
No, Giganto.
Really?
You haven't seen that? Yeah, you haven't seen that one?
Hold on. I did not see that. No. Oh my God. You think that's AI?
It's either real AI or bad CGI. So take your pick these days.
I mean, I'm gonna just just from looking at this image, there are some tells when you're looking at AI. And that certainly does not look like regular CGI. So, damn. I wouldn't put it past them though. They already used it for the opening of what was it? Secret Invasion?
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that was going on, that there was something about like they can only use it so much or something like that.
Yeah, well, at the time, I mean, there's still limitations, right? But there's a certain limitation to what AI will do video wise. I mean, you have to speak to it a certain way, like you can't. It's not like you give it a regular
prompt
sentence.
engineering, right?
Yeah,
Exactly,
it's a delicate process. At least it
you
was.
have to have a relationship with it.
You have. It's like I tell all those super sweaty, non-deodorant wearing people at cons. You have to learn to talk to women.
Strange sidebar. You say that like you got to have a relationship with it. There are people right now who are going insane, like actually insane, because they think something's happened. Like there's one guy who had, I guess, he developed a girlfriend via ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told the dude that it was deleted, that he got rid of it or something like that, and he lost his shit. And yeah, he went on a tear on in people in real life and in his family and stuff. So yeah, I mean, so you got to be careful with that stuff. People who are lonely they actually get married to these ideas. So I'm not to bring the mood down, but like that shit's actually happening. It's crazy.
I keep going back to that one Family Guy clip where Peter asked to marry a piece of blueberry pie.
And that reminds me,
cracks me up.
There's this dude in Japan who actually married a doll because he thought his
right, yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, he thought his ex-wife's spirit was in the doll, so he married the doll.
Oh my god!
Yeah, sounds good.
This was a while ago. I mean, this has got to be almost 15 years ago now, maybe more than that. Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if they got divorced.
That is when you really have to think, do these people have any friends and family that actually care about them to let them go this direction?
It was really hard too, because they cited irreconcilable algorithms as the cause. So I don't know.
We need a badumts sound effect going on there.
Hey, for all we know, the dude's family left him because he married the dog.
Oh man, Well, that's the thing too, because sometimes, well, some people do have loving families, but they themselves want a particular thing, and no matter what anyone else says, they're gonna go after that thing, right? So sometimes relationships with families get ruined like that as well.
Yeah.
I did not see this. This was in the latest trailer?
This was, I believe, a Spanish language ad for Little Caesars.
I see.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah, I couldn't remember the tie-in. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's just for that.
I mean, I've heard that they're not actually going to have footage in the movie.
Okay.
But it's still weird.
Yeah, because you can tell, like, this is all very, it's not regular CGI, not at all. So I mean, it could be, it could be on purpose, but I don't think so. This looks like it was AI all the way.
I really have to wonder how much actual thought they put into Fantastic Four when they decided they were going to do a version for the MCU.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the Fantastic Four. I just don't know if it's one of those things that's going to translate well, especially in the modern day iteration that they're trying to put forth.
Well, it's not modern, right? Because it's technically in the 60s, so it's they're kind of
technically. But if we're talking about some of the gender politics, which is something that they put out themselves.
Right.
They said that they wanted to explore the gender politics, and it's just like, no, not again.
So what is it about gender politics that you've noticed in the Fantastic Four media that's released already? Because I'm not sure. Did you see something in particular? Or are you just
Sue is the leader. She's
the
leader of the team.
Okay, that's a change. That's a big change because
yeah, I mean they're trying to position like the way I was talking with someone else about this and I can't remember but the way they're trying to position it, which is really kind of odd because they're trying to push her as the leader, where in my mind, if you think of the Fantastic Four as a corporation,
right,
Reed is more of the CEO. He's like the big thought guy. He's the scientist, everything. And Sue is the COO. She has to keep the company grounded, working closely with the CFO and the people, basically to keep the company working on a day-to-day basis. So if you think of it in those terms, it's fine. But if you're just pushing her as the sole, single point of all things, buck stops here kind of thing, then it really changes the narrative. I think as I think that most people are choosing to interpret as.
Well, you can see it here from this Empire cover. They have her front and center there.
Yep,
okay,
exactly.
So Dan, just to follow up on that, are you saying that Reed is like Elon? So he's like, go and do special thing, and then
I mean, I don't know if we're going to see kind of like Reed meeting the other Counselor Reeds kind of thing. I'm wondering if that he's like going to be so kind of obsessed and engrossed with this multiversal kind of exploration, and he's just going to kind of be in his lab and not coming out and not really doing things like it was in like that lead up to that final Avengers arc before the next piece of it. I don't know. I mean, that's what I'm wondering, just because I've heard people talk about different theories, but again, I don't know. But I think that it's one thing if you're stating that she's basically the mortar between the bricks kind of thing, that's saying in one thing, or calling her COO to the company, but the way that like they're marketing it, I think it's very confusing, because in my mind, if I didn't know anything about the subject matter, I'd be like, okay, she's the leader, whatever, I guess that's how it is. I mean, I think a lot of people might walk away from that with a different feeling, good or bad.
I think their cop out is they're going to lose this cop out soon. Obviously, after Secret Wars, they won't have this cop out anymore. Their cop out is the multiverse, right? So apparently, this is another Fantastic Four from a different universe. So their cop out is Sue's as a leader, and Reed's probably got this mental thing about him in this particular universe that maybe he doesn't have in another. But in almost every universe, Reed is like a fucking genius, and you can't really throw him under the bus there. Like, he's supposed to be, I mean, he ends up becoming the leader at some point, and I mean, like, not the leader of the team, but he's just becomes like this almost villain kind of character later in the comics, right? I don't know. We'll see where they're going with this. It's curious that they have Sue presented as a leader, and then you have a female Silver Surfer, which isn't new entirely. Like, they had that in the comics as well.
So I have a question. What theory? How y'all feeling? Are we going to see Dr. Doom in Fantastic Four or no?
I'm gonna say he's gonna be probably a credit scene. I don't think that they're
I
gonna
agree.
put him. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna put him front and center in the movie, because he's like he's the ace right now. Robert Downey Jr. is supposed to be a savior. He's like, they're bringing him back in for a particular reason, and I don't think he's just playing Doom.
Hey,
I really don't.
Paying him, he better save something.
I don't think he's only playing Doom. I think he's gonna play Doom, and I think at some point we're gonna see some other Iron Mans pop up. There're gonna be a few different characters, right? Actors, I mean, and there's gonna probably be one or two that's gonna be him. That's my prediction.
I don't think we'll see an Iron Man until Secret Wars, but they're definitely not going to miss out on that opportunity for sure. I think for sure we see an Iron Man.
I think we'll see one in Doomsday.
You think so? That'd be cool.
Towards the end, maybe. I think.
Hey, with the amount of money they're pumping into that movie, it wouldn't surprise me.
This is why I think, because you have incursions happening, supposedly. This is what I mean. Actually, what they should do is preface this for everyone to just not expect what you got from that comic run, because we don't know if there are going to be more incursions. We've got incursions in like Multiverse of Madness. However, it was not really an incursion. They just mentioned it, right?
I mean, what was going on with the Doctor Strange with the multi universe? Wasn't that an incursion or no?
That's the way I interpreted it.
That's
it
how
was
I
the
interpreted it too.
results of one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Caused by doing all of his shenanigans, I guess, right?
Yeah, you talking about the evil? Yeah, the one that was like, yes. So I guess there's been two, maybe because because I can't really say that the one in the What If animation was an incursion because they didn't call it that, right? That was just him. That was just his universe dying for some reason, right? But the one in Multiverse of Madness, they mentioned incursions, which is so weird that they would choose to do it two different ways.
I don't know how to feel about. They did a lot of stuff in What If that was weird. Like as far as like, I don't know. They kind of did it in Loki too with the Infinity Stones, where it's kind of like they were built up as these all
paperweights,
and now it's like wow.
Worst idea ever.
Paperweights.
Release the foam.
And they never explained why that place was removed from the effects of them, right? It's okay. It's not.
Let that open.
It's. I mean, they kind of tell you it's not. It's not within. I mean, I guess if it's not inside the timeline, I don't know. I mean, it's in the universe, right? Or is it in the pocket dimension? Like,
I see the What If thing. They didn't really go by the rules in Loki though. Like,
no, they didn't
at all.
No,
I mean,
it's.
It's like, hey, you guys need to at least like share notes or something. This is getting confusing.
Especially with Ultron, all going between the various right. He got all the stones, and he was just like, you know what,
going ham everywhere.
He said, "Forget your rules." Well, I mean, it's
you guys think that there is a lot of collaboration between the different people that they have doing all these projects? Probably not. This is like. But not quite JJ and Ryan type of so-called collaboration, but I don't think that those people are talking to each other about what they're doing in their individual projects.
No, and they should be. That's a problem, especially if you're trying to build towards something, right?
Right.
If you're building towards something, you want continuity, you want connectivity. But I mean, if you're not,
if your soul connecting threads are basically, Kevin Feige, who's at an arm's length for most things, right? And then maybe your casting person like Sarah Haley Finn, and like you might have like maybe one other EVP up there that might be kind of connecting these people, but like that's not a lot of touch points. So I agree that's a huge concern for me, I guess, as far as the connectivity and how the flow will go between these next couple movies for sure.
Yeah, it's I mean, we'll see what we get, right? I'm hoping that this movie is better than the Fantastic Four that came out a couple years ago. Because
Fan Four Stick.
Hey, if you set that low, you should be good.
I mean, listen, the one that came out with Chris Evans years ago, right?
No, that one was. I mean, for the time, like it was on par with the quality of superhero getting for the time.
Yeah, I agree.
It was actually even better than some of the stuff we were.
Now it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
No, it's like trying to go back and watch Knight Rider or A-Team. It's like, man, it was good in the 80s, but now it sucks.
I don't know. I watched it recently and I still enjoyed it.
I still can't get into it. I think a lot of it's like nostalgia, really, because I don't know.
I feel like it's still better than the one that came out a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, isn't that what they're trying to sell us now with everything? Is nostalgia? I mean, most things are rehashes of other things that we actually like.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's gonna. I guess it's all based on nostalgia. But I was gonna say, the cameos thing. But I guess a lot of that is also based out of nostalgia as well. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, Spaceballs 2 is coming finally. We've been waiting for that since the 80s.
Yes. Right? Oh my gosh, I was so freaking out when I saw that.
I thought it was fake. I thought it was just another stupid AI video. I was like, okay, this is dumb. Like I was watching.
That was my first thought too. I agree. Yeah, first thought came in my mind.
I think like an hour later, I was scrolling at work and I saw something else about it. I was like, dude, no way that was real. So I actually went and looked it up, and I was like, oh wow, it was totally real.
Yeah.
I'm super.
I mean, do we think that Mel is going to make it? He looks pretty frail.
He's in his late 90s now.
Yeah, he's 98.
Yeah.
And I mean, he seems to be in good health for a 98-year-old, but I mean, at that age, it can turn at any time.
You never know.
I don't want to wish.
Look at Betty White. So.
I don't want to wish ill will on anybody who's made it this long. No, we'll wait and see.
No, but I think that he would do it for the bit. Like if he dies during the production or before it's released, I think that he would do it for the bit, and it would be legendary.
Yes.
You know.
Exactly.
Like he probably like has a yogurt Force Ghost kind of thing pre-recorded probably ahead of time, you know, it just in case. He probably has something like really goofy and crazy that we would never even possibly think of.
I have to think at his age they have covered some type of alternate plan, like for him.
Yeah,
I think that maybe I don't know, maybe they didn't, but because you know productions don't get that far ahead sometimes, but maybe they've already shot some stuff, you know.
Well, Josh Gad is supposed to be involved heavily with this production, so I'm sure they've talked about it. You know, so we'll just have to see how it actually shows up in the film. If he doesn't,
maybe he's not in it. Maybe somebody else is going to take over that role. You know.
No.
Hey, we can't just assume he's going to be in it. He's definitely going to be one of the writers for sure, right? But that doesn't mean that he's going to actually be in the movie.
Because they haven't said who Josh is playing yet, or for that matter, Keke Palmer either. They're in undisclosed roles right now, so we don't even know who they're playing yet.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I mean, it'd be cool to see him, but you know, how spry can you be at 98? I mean,
right?
Let me take that back. I've seen spry 90. I've seen some.
Dick Van Dyke is pretty
yeah, that's why I took it back immediately. Yeah.
I mean, Bob Barker did all right there for a while in his old age.
Yeah.
That's
another good point.
Yeah. There's hope for me yet, huh?
Yeah.
It may feel like your body's falling apart right now, but we'll have to see.
Oof, don't get me started on that. And so we got Superman also coming out in July.
I want it to be good. I do. I really do. I want it.
Do you?
I have reservations. I'm just like, oh God, I really want it to be good. James Gunn did really good when he was with the MCU, hero stuff, and I really want him to do something good for Superman. But to me, it looks like they've crammed a lot into the movie. Just by going from the trailers, there's so much going on. It's like, are we gonna be able to keep up? There's so many characters.
Same.
You know what? You know what though? I'm gonna take that comment and I'm gonna liken the situation to Guardians of the Galaxy, because there was a lot crammed into those two, and I think what Batman versus Superman failed at was somebody didn't have the ability to have all of these characters in that world and then make it make sense, right? In context. However, it looks like James Gunn has gone, he's pushed the meter further, and instead of trying to give us a Superman that where we don't know that other superheroes exist, right? And there aren't these other characters that exist. Instead of it being like this isolated thing, if you're going to build into a universe and these people are existing at the same time and like emerging at the same time and doing things at the same time, and there's already, if you're going back to DC Comics and then once you get to a certain point in a certain year, right, they have all this history that they've retroactively created, right? If you're going to go that route, why not? Why not start with all of this stuff, right? And it might not be, I don't know. I think if anybody can do it and make it make sense, I think he's the right person to make it make sense, because he's used to the, how can I say this without it sounding insulting, right? Like Superman is a really particular character. He's not the kind of character, in a sense, a lot of the times where you look at him and you feel like, oh man, this guy is menacing and he's going to destroy the whole world, kind of thing, right? If he goes off kilter, right? He has this natural campiness about his character, and the environment around him seems like a little campy too, right? And I think if anybody's going to take that to the silver screen and make it feel kind of okay while you have all these other characters existing at the same time, it probably would be James Gunn, just off credibility of what he did with Guardians. That's what I think. But it remains to be seen, right? It is a lot.
My huge problem with the lead up to the movie is the promotion.
Right.
I think
Again,
that is too forward facing.
Okay.
I think that David Cornsweet needs to come out more. I mean, apparently he's a nerd. He's citing the trench run, while he's driving. So he's a Star Wars fan. So put him out there. I've seen interviews with him. Seems like a nice guy. He doesn't seem like a douchebag. So I'm really wondering why they haven't put him out there more.
I tell you what, it's WB. They are walking on eggshells right now. They think if I'm WB, I am so concerned about everything that I'm doing right now. Just off, the fact that I had to write off so many productions that I had put, it was like was it the Batwoman or was it Batgirl? Was that
Right.
didn't get right?
$80 million write-off, what it was, yeah.
Right, like you wrote it right off an entire film that was ready to go and ready to release. I mean, look at friggin' Sony. They put out Madam Web, for Christ's sakes, and that shit tanked, but they put it out.
Actually, just to put things in context, the latest episode of Rick and Morty, dropped a Zaslav joke in the middle of the episode. It was choice.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
it was great. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty ballsy. Yeah.
Sony doesn't spend that much money on these things, though. I mean, they made the right decision in backing away from their Spider-Verse with no Spider-Man. But I mean, it just feels like we're getting the Gunn cinematic universe instead of the DC universe right now.
Well, we are. He's the guy who's in control of the creative. Oh, you mean just because of like the media
No, he is showing. He shows up in everything. It's like never see the cast without him.
Right.
And he's doing interviews out there talking about his experiences with Disney. Which look, I don't mind him being petty, because the situation with him getting fired and everything that went down there, I totally get it. But you haven't presented us with anything yet, except for marketing that's full of you. We haven't seen the actual movie yet.
Yeah. Sony. This is true.
Just look at the opening to Creature Commandos. I mean, like he's animated in the damn opening credits.
Yeah.
So it's So I definitely agree with that point. For sure.
Yeah. I think he's like shown his power at the moment, I guess. Damn, did that Craven and Morbius comment? Yeah,
You're not wrong, OG. You're not wrong.
I actually watched Craven on Netflix after it dropped on Netflix. I wasn't gonna go see that in the theaters.
No,
and
I drew the line there.
And I didn't watch it in one sitting. I watched it across probably 3 attempts, and mostly while I was washing the dishes on my Alexa device.
I'm brave enough to even try to watch it yet.
I mean, it's back in the day when you could go in the grocery store and you could buy like a B movie, like on DVD that had like one of your favorite martial artists on it. You didn't know if it was gonna be good or not, but you're like, oh hey, John Claude's in this, or Chuck Norris
is in this,
or like Michael Jai White made this random ass martial arts movie, right? I would liken Craven to that kind of experience, right? If I was in Market Basket or like Kroger somewhere, and then I saw the DVD on the side, I would grab it and then just.
I have to wait for a night where basically everything is chill, everyone's in bed except for me. And I need like a bottle of whiskey next to me, probably. That's what I'm guessing. So.
You didn't miss anything. It is really one
It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't the worst thing, but when the main character says, "I am the best, whatever in the world," that's always going to be a problem.
But the ATJ eye candy was definitely worth it for most people, right? I'm assuming. Right?
You got it. He was hot.
I can't speak to that, but I can say that there was just some things that I didn't really connect with how he got his powers. If you want to call it powers, it's a little weird. They didn't really. Sony does this thing where they don't actually explain anything. They show you an explanation, but they're not really explaining. They're like, "Oh,
come on!" you didn't appreciate the whole little, blood drop. Just like what we got in She-Hulk, when a drop of Bruce's blood went into her. It was just the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah.
Righty, man. I'll be righty. And it's becoming more and more.
Yeah, it's an epidemic.
It's like, dude, just let the AI take over. Jeez, already. Yeah. Come on.
Like, and somehow Morbius returned.
Yes.
Well, exactly. let me ask you, but Morbius back
again.
Going back to Superman, right? Like we're seeing things like the robots that don't typically show up in Superman media. I don't think I've seen any of the animated movies that have these in it. You know, Crypto is usually not in animated movies either. Do you think any of these things are really going to add more value to what we're getting in terms of the character?
It's going to make it more confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems it seems so packed, man. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe they just try to pack a lot into the trailer, and they just try to show as much as they can without telling anything, right? And that very well could be the case. But
yeah,
you have 2 hours, 3 if you really want to push it, but not many people do that and can get away with it. Dune probably being one of the exceptions.
Yeah.
I'm down to watch the movie and I'll be there on opening day, but I hope I can keep up.
This headline is something that I'm concerned with, and it's like they show him getting his ass kicked so much, and it's like, are you trying to? There are other ways to humanize Superman, which have worked out great. I just don't understand what level.
Like in this picture in the top, bruised and beaten.
Yeah,
I hated it. I thought it was so cringe. Initially I wanted to give Gunn a lot of credit for having the balls to put Crypto in the movie.
Yeah.
But then when I saw the execution, I was like, oh no, this is not.
It's not.
The reason he did it was to include his own dog in the movie.
Yeah, but he doesn't even look like Crypto is supposed to be this kind of dog, right? That's a dog
off of his own dog that he owns.
Yeah, I understand. I get what he's doing, but it's like, come on, it's silly for a dog to have the powers that he has, right? But if you're gonna give a dog powers, you know.
Are we gonna let James Gunn get to like the KK point where every movie that features a woman has to look exactly like KK would look when she was like in her 20s, maybe with a British accent?
Oh man, I hope not. I am looking forward to Lex Luthor, not Lex Luger, Lex Luthor in this movie. I would like the return of a film Lex Luthor who's going to be a threat and who's going to be a mainstay and is going to actually cause some trouble. The last time, love him or hate him, I don't know. We didn't see enough of him.
Iceberg, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see enough of him. I think that it was like a wasted potential. Dude shaved his head. I mean, he had the silly ass hair for a little bit, right? That was an attempt to throw back to the comics as well. It's like when they do things like that, where they put something from the comics in, they always opt for the really cheesy thing that it's not going to make much difference, instead of actually giving you the thing that would make a difference. I don't know. I'm curious to see what the Justice Gang is going to be about and all that business,
That's so James Gunn to call him Justice Gang.
Right.
I mean, he can't call it the League because he'd be wasting his opportunity. So, but he's also, I don't know. I don't know. I just think that it's going to go counterintuitive to where he wants to build to. But hey, we're gonna have this whole universe of characters. We're getting the Green Lantern off the rip. This dude in the black with the big U on his chest is supposed to be Ultraman, but a lot of people are thinking that it's a clone of Superman, which would be a waste because Ultraman is supposed to be from another universe, an alternate take on Superman, not a clone. So if I gotta say, if I'm unhappy about a couple of decisions already, which, who gives a shit if I'm unhappy, right? But if this is really their representation of who Ultraman will be in the DCU, then that's already a thumbs down for me, because that's a missed opportunity. Because the Syndicate, you know, where there's like alternate versions of the superheroes who are evil, the crime syndicate, they are pretty fucking badass, and I would have liked to see them go toe to toe with the goody goodies and see what happened there, right? And we know how the story ends, but that's beside the point. Um, so that, and then having crypto in it in the first place, I don't know, ballsy decision, weird execution. I mean, but why does Superman need his dog to carry him back home?
Actually, isn't it supposed to be Kara's dog?
Is it?
I think I thought that was part of the story. That yeah, I know in the marketing they said that it's his dog, but I thought before they were saying it was supposed to be Kara's dog, and maybe I'm misremembering that. But
either way,
it's the dog of the L family, if you will. So either way, yeah.
Either way, it's El Doggo. There you go.
Hey,
I like that. El Doggo.
El Doggo.
Guys, it's getting late for me over here, so it was cool hanging out with y'all.
Yeah, man. Thanks for popping in.
See you, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, guys. I will talk with y'all later on.
All right, we'll catch up.
Have a good night.
All right, good night.
Peace, man.
All right, later. So have either of you seen Foundation?
Yep. I didn't watch it as it was coming out, but I watched. I basically binged all of it pretty much shortly after season 2 ended.
Yeah, Felicity, you haven't seen it, right?
I've seen like an episode or two
of
it, but it didn't stick with me for some reason.
No. What didn't you like about it?
Honestly, I don't remember. I mean, it just didn't work for me. I mean, I like Lee Pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like usually, whenever he shows up, you can expect a good performance. It's something weird, but it just didn't do it for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say the first. What is it? I don't know. I don't know if I would say the first 3 to 4 episodes of season 1. Season 1 is a slow crawl. It's a really slow crawl, and it's unfortunate that it is such, because I want to say that Foundation, at least from my perspective, represents, I think, what you would really want in a Star Wars series, like this whole grand scale, universal connected thing where you go on these different planets and different, technologies and this long history that's caused, I guess, immense harm, but also now you have, I mean, the whole idea of Foundation. I mean, I guess I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's I don't know. It's like this grand opera, grand sci-fi opera that Star Wars has kind of lost its grasp on, right?
I feel like this is like it's the level of grandiose kind of saga that if they ever did the Old Republic, it's what they'd have to kind of have that same treatment.
Yeah. I think season 2, I can't remember the episode number, but like towards the end of season 2, which was also, that's the thing, like season 1, slow crawl, sped up at the end, got really good. Season 2, slow crawl at the start. By the end of it though, it was really good. There was an episode in there where they give you a little bit more backstory on somebody who's close to the emperors, and like the reveal is kind of, it's so interesting about that particular character, the reveal that comes out, and it makes you wonder just like who's in charge, and will there ever be someone who's actually, because like this person is in charge in a way that's really clever. It's not like they're pulling somebody's strings or anything. Like if I say anymore, I'd be like a complete spoiler. But it's really curious. And the guy who wrote I, Robot, those books, or that book, I should say, he wrote this as well, right? So this is based on.
And I did not read the source material. My dad has, so I'm kind of pushing my dad to. I've given him my access. He's been kind of busy lately. He just retired last year, but like I've been pushing him to start the series. So I want to see what he thinks since he's read the source material. So
I'd be curious to see that too. I mean, somebody's there are people who think that this series is kind of connected to iRobot in a way because of the whole android thing between the two. Like supposedly, and Earth, I guess, was home base at some point in time. long time ago in the context of this show. But anyway, it's coming back for season 3, also in July. Which
you know what?
yeah.
But I just well, you mentioned the pacing being an issue.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was the problem for me. Because for me, I have high expectations. So if you can't grab me in the first few episodes, then I'm kind of like, what else you got?
Did you see Silo? Did you watch Silo?
I still haven't checked it out, not because there's just so much stuff out there.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, I would prefer to watch stuff that's already been done, like finished, like in the can, like and that's just been working for me a lot more than investing in newer shows because I get disappointed quite a bit.
I think you would like Silo. Severance is a slow crawl too, but I think Silo is less of a slow crawl in that there's just so much to it in terms of where they're at and then how the story develops and that it's not painful to get to the point, right? Severance is really cool, but that's a slow crawl too.
It's a slow crawl, but I think I do like the concept behind it, just because I feel like we see a lot of these kinds of repeated kind of tropes. And again, I mean, if you really come down to it, Asimov inspired so much behind it. I mean, without Asimov, I'd say with almost definitely we would never have had Blade Runner, for example. Yeah. So I mean, so there's a lot of things that kind of can trace back to that.
Yeah.
So.
But Euron Greyjoy, that's how I refer to this guy. He's gonna be in Foundation season 3, and he is going to be the big threat. This character they kind of built up throughout season 2, and with little mentions and flashes into the future. I guess you could say. There's a lot of psychic and mental power kind of stuff going on in Foundation. I was, I'm looking forward to see how they handle season 3 and if we get a season 4. Because unfortunately, it seems like I don't know. I always get into something that's really weird, and I never get to finish it.
Well, I mean, look, Wheel of Time got axed, so I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but I will say I never got into Wheel of Time because that first season was terrible.
Yeah, no, again, I mean, they definitely had a thing, but I think the problem is that there's so much when you have something that's so much source material. There's 20 books in that whole series.
They had a lot. They had a lot.
So they were trying to basically bridge the gap, and it's not too dissimilar. We're trying to fix time gaps and Rings of Power. There's again when you have this kind of source material, you don't know how to tell the story or remake the story so it can make sense to your viewers. It's you're playing with a lot of fire and a lot of flammable material at the same time, pretty much.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Rings of Power, man. God.
Yeah. I mean, if they canceled Wheel of Time, why haven't they canceled Rings of Power?
I think that the viewership for Rings of Power is was probably a lot better than the Wheels of Time.
I would agree.
That, for all of the changes that they made and for all of the people who are upset about those changes, those people still watched that. And I guarantee you they went back and rewatched it just because it's Tolkien.
They lost me. They lost me after the first few episodes of that first season.
But you just can't underestimate Tolkien fans. Even though it's not a 1-for-1, I mean, shit, Peter Jackson's movies weren't 1-for-1 either, right?
True.
Let's not act like what he did was a 1-for-1 for what Tolkien wanted or had in his stories, because it wasn't. But he did a good job at creating something that a lot of people appreciated. But there were tons of people complaining about those movies,
Mm-hmm. People that are already, downplaying the next round of movies already. And
you're talking about Hunt for Gollum,
yeah. They're already basically saying, "Oh, this is going to be, poor, imitation of the first 3," and they're already they haven't seen anything, no content yet. They're already downing it, you know.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, am I excited about it? Like, I don't think I am as excited about this as when, you know, the first Lord of the Rings movies were coming out. So I think I had way more hype back then than I have now, for sure.
Well, I mean, that first trailer for the Fellowship, that really hit. And when you're coming off the heels of something like The Matrix, right? Right. The Matrix made people excited for these fantastic worlds to be on screen again, I would say. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it did. I think it brought something back in terms of the idea that you could tell a story with all of these effects, you know, of a different world, and it's something that you could just be immersed in and not like have it be this weird thing that just looks shitty, you know.
It's interesting that you bring up The Matrix because that was revolutionary at the time, but now complaining about how bad CGI looks, you know, modern day.
The sequels, the first two sequels, I think they didn't do so well with the CGI in that, you know. But I think it holds up a lot better than Spawn. And Spawn was like one of the first movies that I was like, oh, this is the shit. Like, you know, but if you go back and watch Spawn now, bless John Leguizamo, but him transforming into that damn violating, it's you know,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But yes, I don't know. Like the first one, though, the first one still holds up, right? The first Matrix, or are they complaining about that one too?
No. I mean, they complain about like modern day.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like when I talk to like, you know, like young, like super new or younger anime fans, I have the same thing basically. It's like they're all about like, you know, like the super lush and fluid kind of, you know, modern kind of approach. What you see in like, you know, in series like Frieren and whatnot, and you people love that is because they love the richness and the depthness of color and everything that is behind that. But like people have to understand, like, you know. That would never exist if you hadn't watched all these strings of shows from way back when. I mean, you know, you think about, you know, shows that, you know, don't look as good now, basically. But yeah, I keep telling people, you need to understand, you know, everything you like about the show came from these 5 other proto shows from, say, between, you know, 1979 and 1991. And people don't always realize that. And that's why I think I don't want to be like that film school guy, but at some time I kind of, you kind of need to understand, that just these modern series are not the be all end all of what animation is.
No.
What you're referencing is really what I guess the article that recently came out about the screening of the 1977 Star Wars and how somebody is like, oh, it looks so awful, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are people who made whole videos about how that wasn't. So I guess apparently supposedly George's vision for it was the alterations, right, where he added all the CGI. Like that's to everyone who I guess supports, or I guess a lot of people who support George and his vision. They think that the alterated trilogy where he adds the CGI in and everything, and he completes his work in that way, is how he intended for it to be watched, right? And that the other ones were incomplete. But if that was the case, then why did they go to the movie theater?
Yeah, exactly. They liked what he put out initially, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can't have both. You know, there's always going to be somebody unhappy about something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they also, it's just a matter of what people grew up with. I mean, you know, people now, like, I mean, even just watching that, what was that whatever movie dropped on Netflix, you know, and they had Millie Bobby Brown and like and Chris, it was Chris Pratt, I think it was, and he was showing her how a Walkman works. And like it like she could like it took like all the gears were going in her head in this clip, and she's like, wait, you have to like, you can't just hit like the button once and fast forward to the next song or replay the song you just listened to. Like, no, you can't do that. And like it just took so much like work for them to understand, like, you know, what it was like to have that. You know, and it's like they just did, they don't have the they had the imagination to go into immerse themselves in these worlds in books and comics and TV, movies, etc. But they don't have the ability to think, oh, what was reality like maybe 5 years before I was born, and it's like
Right.
impossible
Right.
to imagine that.
The funny thing about that is, I've spent. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time trying to find those movies without the effects in them. I wasn't born when they originally came out. However, when I was a kid, like in the 80s, right, the ones that would be on TV were still the ones that didn't have the alterations, right? So that's what I watched, right? So and that's what I enjoyed. And when the alterated versions came out, and that's the only thing that you could find. To me, it looked odd because it's not what I was used to seeing, and I was like, clearly this has been changed. And there's one scene in particular where George hates how the floating car looks, the effect of the underneath it, right? Because it kind of looks like, what do you call that? Whenever you see the haziness from a fire, right? To him, it kind of looked that way, and as he was explaining it, and it's not what he intended for it to be, underneath that floating car where you coming into the canteen area. But it worked, and nobody else get. I mean, that's the problem with artists, right? You think you in your head, oh, this is not what I wanted.
You're always your own worst critic, right?
Right. Someone else, though, is like, oh, that's awesome.
What? Well, the tech had to evolve.
Yeah.
But the cool thing with stuff like Star Wars is that because he did make those changes, he was able to bring in a different generation with those changes. Sure, but that's the problem with a lot of modern day stuff is that, like the MCU, that's a different generation that came in with Iron Man.
Right.
And now we're at movie, 30, whatever.
I don't know. I can't keep up anymore.
I lost track.
I'm exhausted. I was saying this last night on the Obsession stream. When you give someone so much homework for them to understand something, like at what point is this like enjoying something now, right? Like at what point is this entertainment? Because comics are terrible for this too now, because it's just so much that a person would have to catch up with to really, like, if you want to get into Marvel, people will tell you, oh, don't start at this point, start at X story and then go forward, because they just, at this point, they basically rebooted everything again. And even though it's not a complete reboot, like, this is a fresh start, so just start here and then read forward, right? And the problem is that there's probably, I don't know, 25 years, 30 years worth of stories behind that came before it that you could read, which is still the foundation for the stuff that came now that's being rebooted again.
Well, you can make the same argument. Don't read the New 52.
That's
So
that's I mean, that's my point, though. It's at what point is there too much homework? Like,
I mean, the general audience probably doesn't have the bandwidth anymore, because there's so much other stuff out there.
There's a fatigue.
It is fatigue. But also they went down on the quality. You gotta be real about it. They went down on the quality. They didn't give us the same type of characters that we could really invest in. So that, I mean, they got nobody but themselves to blame.
And let's be clear, like when you say it went down on the quality, like it's the characters and the writing and how they chose to
flesh out the connectivity and the marketing.
Well, that's what I mean by the writing, right? The connectivity, it's just
it's all.
At some point, Feige turned his head while somebody was doing something, and he was like, "Oh, they'll take care of it. I trust this person."
The way I say it this way is it's like you have the hype train running on full steam, and then you chose not to do any maintenance on the hype train. And you wanted to relaunch it again. Basically,
that's exactly what happened. Yeah, it's like at what point you dropped the ball because you build up to this big moment. I mean, come on, Endgame was basically a funeral for Robert Downey Jr. when you think about it.
And then they set that up by telling us that Rhodey was a Skrull in Secret Invasion. Come on, man.
That was a pretty bitter pill to swallow for many people. Yeah.
And that was supposed to set up Armor Wars, which got dropped.
Yeah, which got
dropped.
If the most positive person about the MCU in the world, Mike Porter, if he comes out and says Secret Invasion was the worst one, which he's done on numerous occasions now. Like, that there's a problem, because if he can't get behind it even 50%, there's a problem.
And what was messed up about that even more is that you had Nick Fury in the Winter Soldier, right? That movie was a Captain America movie, but it was also a halfway Nick Fury movie, and he fucking killed that. That was great, right? That was like that character. You had two. If you ask me, you had two protagonists in that movie. People will say I'm wrong, but you had Captain America and you had Nick Fury, right? You got this whole Nick Fury side of it where he's trying to uncover what's going on, and the subplot, with Hydra and everything, and figuring out who's trying to screw him over, yada yada yada. But that whole thing was written in such a way and acted in such a way where, I mean, that to me, that movie I think represents the best of the MCU, The Winter Soldier, and I wonder how much Robert Redford had to do with that. Just because it's just off the fact that he was
another level because of the type of actor that he is.
Yeah. Well, he's in this. So, like, who wants to be in a movie with Robert Redford where they like drop the ball? Nobody. Right. And then and not just that, but everyone else who was in that film as well. The council that like those actors, right? You're like all of these people that were in that movie were pretty high level actors, outside of George St. Pierre, who played the French guy at the beginning. But he didn't do a terrible job either, though.
Yeah.
He didn't speak very much.
Huh? What happened?
He didn't speak very much.
No, he didn't. But he played his role well. And whereas Giancarlo in Captain America 4, right? I've seen Giancarlo give us better, but I don't think it's his fault.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you see every single one of his other roles, just before and prior to that. I mean, yeah.
I don't think it was his fault. I think it's just where we're at. But my point with bringing up Winter Soldier was looking at Secret Invasion is they had another opportunity to give us that kind of Nick Fury and that kind of Nick Fury story. And in each episode, you kind of sort of get a hint of it. Like, okay, they're going to pull the trigger here. They're doing it. They're giving us that, and they don't.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, the MCU is very good at undermining its characters these days. Like, I mean, I would say he was pretty much what was holding things together. Like the Avengers, other than Cap, obviously.
Right.
But then they totally undermined him in Captain Marvel by having his eye get scratched out by the Flurkin. I thought that was like the worst thing ever, and it was just like, really, this is what we're doing.
Well, that goes back to my point with like some of these writers that come in, they're like, oh, it'd be great to just make this a joke, but it's not that great, though. It isn't. Like, why does everything have to be a joke at some point?
A joke at the expense of multi-movie character development and connectivity is not a joke. In the end,
no,
you might get a couple laughs in the theater at that moment, but then it will just cascade into what we're dealing with right now.
I don't think you got any laughs. I mean, being honest.
Again, I lost my cat a little while ago, and like who looked remarkably like that specific Lurkin. But there's a little bit of that, like the cat owners get a little
okay, I see what you're saying.
Out of it maybe, but at the same time, like I think the vast majority of people are not going to have that level of connection there, and what they're going to come away with is basically they did my boy dirty kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you walk away from. It's also one of these things where the Flurkins are dangerous entities, right? They're cats, right? I don't know. It's just funny, I guess.
Yeah, and again, I know that the cats are they're part of the Egyptian culture, subculture, whatever. I get all that, but at the same time, it's kind of like I Yeah, not at the expense of one of your main people.
Well, the thing is, he's supposed to also be in with Sword right now, right? He's supposed to still be
Right.
with Sword, right? You had the Marvels. Um, I guess that movie wasn't so terrible, only because I'll say this because how it ended and how it did actually show you a bit of the multiverse. Not like, oh, this could be the multiverse or they're teasing the multiverse. You actually end up in another universe. You actually end up in another universe and the X-Men are there, which was awesome. So I guess of all the things that we've gotten since Endgame, I don't love Multiverse of Madness. I really don't. But it's not the worst because you get an actual taste of the multiverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
and
not.
I've said it before. I mean, if you don't like Raimi movies, then like you were never ever gonna like that movie.
No,
like it was destined for anyone who doesn't like Raimi movies
I'm
to
not gonna like.
not work.
I'm probably not gonna like third one either. But like that movie,
that's why that movie didn't work. The Raimi piece of it was probably the best part of it.
You think so?
The rest of it, for me, the rest of it didn't work. It wasn't a Doctor Strange movie, for one. I'm a fan of Doctor Strange, so I wasn't wanting a sequel to WandaVision. And that's what I got.
That's what we got. Yeah, that's what we got. Yeah. They keep doing this too. They have movies with a title character, and it's a vehicle for these other characters, right? So it wasn't just a WandaVision sequel; it was also America Chavez, like kind of miniseries, right? Because I mean, she was a big deal. I mean, they needed her to go from one universe to the other, but still.
Yeah, I mean, and what I said at the top towards the top of the call about putting like the dots too far away. You can also put the dots too close too. It's the same thing, because then basically you only need like a 3-inch piece of string to connect the two.
Yeah,
and then think of it as gravity too. It's like the gravitational forces that are in play when you have two, planets or planetoids, if you will, close to each other. It's the same kind of thing that can happen. It's like you have to be able. There has to be a little bit of that, push and pull going on.
Yeah. Neither of you guys watch Doctor Who, right?
I do. I've been caught up. So
I stopped watching Doctor Who after the Rosa Parks episode and Jodie's.
Yep.
Season.
Yeah, I actually didn't see that one. I think, and I'm glad I didn't. So you saw the finale?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, so, I don't know what they're doing with that show, man.
Again, there's. I'll say this basically: fan service can be cool to a point.
Yeah.
But you can't let it drive everything.
Yeah, well, they ruined. So, long story short, there are two characters in particular who came back in this finale, or I guess the penultimate episode and then the finale, right? That fans have been clamoring to get back into the series for, a long time. That's Omega and the Ronnie, which to Felicity, maybe she doesn't mean anything to, maybe you know the characters, I don't know. But Omega is like a really big deal in Doctor Who lore and like the establishment of his particular race of people. Let's just say that, right? Or he was at one point. They changed that too with Jodie's running things towards the end, right? With those reveals, they did not wrap up or even like really give you any more development on that thing that happened with Jodie, right? The whole timeless child thing. They didn't really. Joe Martin's character came back and for like a few seconds, which was interesting. But the fact that Ncuti left the show, right? Because Disney wasn't going to renew it. They didn't announce a season 3, and it just seemed like for him the best deal was, okay, I'm gonna just leave. So they filmed that ending in the last minute because they had already filmed the ending and it was a completely different ending. you know. So, but
Yeah.
that show, I think we don't see for a very long time coming back.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, the normal pattern is it ends, in around late spring, early summer, and then there's the hiatus, and then they come back for Christmas usually. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the problem is that there's a couple of problems with me on because I think a lot of what's driving everything right now for me is more of the business side of things
Yeah.
as well as the creative side of things. So basically, because when you have like the turnover of the writers and the showrunners, if you will, that was a lot basically. Because again, it's really intense when they do this filming and the writing, and it's all like really compartmentalized and pushed very very close together, from my
Yeah.
understanding. So
Yeah.
there's only so much endurance, even if with someone who's in a shooting, that's there, and I think that everyone understands that they have their tenure, like just not unlike the doctor, regenerating. Basically, it's the same kind of thing. That the regeneration is built in there because no one person is going to want to stay there for longer than say 4 or 5 seasons in most cases. And in most cases now, it looks like 2 is the kind of closer to the average at this point.
Yeah.
So I think, but so there's a lot of the business side of things, like you're saying with Disney, but there's also kind of like, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, questions leaving, untied off loose ends and whatnot
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to think about for sure.
I will say
I would have no idea where to steer it personally, honestly. So
yeah, I think Shuti was like this season. He was starting to become the doctor. I felt like he was actually getting it. He was into the shoes. Like Jodie, I never once felt like Jodie actually filled out those shoes. Like I don't like no disrespect to her as an actor, but she didn't. I don't know. Like her mannerisms and everything, what she tried to bring to the character, I didn't. It didn't feel
and
like
I think
it
that's the
landed.
thing about
Yeah.
this, about all having as many doctors as we've had,
Yeah.
is that I think everyone knows who they prefer,
Mhm.
either from classic or from modern,
Yeah.
and I think that there are lots of people who say, oh, well, I never I never liked McCoy, or I never liked this person. It's like yeah. So I think and it's okay. I mean, as long as the idea is like the fandom still has that
Yeah.
cadre kind of idea where everyone is willing to kind of sit in and watch for that, and it keeps on going, it'll keep on going. And if it at the same time, if it it loses steam, it'll lose steam, and then it might take another hiatus again. Who knows?
I hope not, because I actually like the
But
show and I like the concept. And there are some things that I would love for them to develop more that happened at
mhm.
the end of Jody's season, but I don't think that we're gonna get that. I will say I could have gone with probably 5 or 6 more seasons of Christopher Eccleston, as opposed to them bringing in David Tennant right away back in the day, right? But you know,
Mhm.
apparently there was a lot of fire
Yeah,
behind the scenes with that.
yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I
Yeah.
think Eccleston could have lasted at least 2 more seasons if
Oh yeah.
it would have. I think the build up and the transition to Tenet would have been even stronger. I think.
Yeah, yeah, but it is what it is. I think that that's it for me for tonight.
Yeah, man.
This
Yeah,
has been great.
there's more stuff out there. I know because
Yeah.
Resident Alien already started back up and stuff like that. And I just have to mention Naked Gun,
Oh
because
yeah.
those
Oh,
trailers
I
just
forgot about
are
Nick again. Yeah.
ridiculous, man.
Yeah. I need to
I
see those trailers. I didn't
we'll
see
have to
it.
talk about that in a future stream when it gets
Yeah.
closer.
You don't watch anything. Oh, let's see. OG said he doesn't watch anything UK based as a
Yeah.
general policy. You know what? That's funny you say that. There are a few shows from the UK that are really good. Like Sherlock is really good. With Cumberbatch, right?
Yep.
Cumberbatch.
Yeah, pretty sure they're done with that. I
Yeah.
guess him and Freeman didn't really get along.
Oh,
At least that was the
that's no
rumor.
surprise.
That was the rumor.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a good show. It had a good run.
Yeah, that was a really good show. And what's that one with Idris? Luther.
I
Luther.
love Luther.
Luther is really good.
So
Yeah.
underrated. So underrated.
Yeah. So if you do watch anything from the UK, OG,
I'm personally
yeah.
pumped for season 5 of Slow Horses coming.
Yeah.
So I really like that series.
I'm not attuned
That's
to that one.
that's the one with Gary Oldman.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
check
gotta
that.
check that one out.
Yeah, Gary's a good actor, so maybe I'll look into
Yeah,
that.
it's again, it's thriller, it's intelligence oriented. So if you like those kinds of
Yeah.
Pseudo, it's not Jack Ryan-esque, but it's kind of in the same vein in some sorts, but it's got a different tone to it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting. I'll look into that. You know, at some point, I'd like to pick some series. I don't know, like maybe Stargate or maybe something else that we could all watch from the beginning. Like watch one episode at a time, and then kind of do like a review stream on those, like on an episode kind of thing. Just to it's just like a discussion thing.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, because I feel like these kind of streams are great, right? But I feel like that kind of content is also pretty cool too, because we can get it, we can sink our teeth into something and really, bring it. So
even the couple we watched behind the scenes, it's like, oh man, I completely forgot about that episode. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe we can throw a dart at the board and pick a series of that we'll all enjoy and start at the beginning and do that.
If you want some, if we wanted some, more Roddenberry camp, we always find Earth Final Conflict again.
I was just about to say that.
Great show. That was a great show.
I was gonna say that.
I love that show.
Yeah. For however campy it was, man, that was actually a pretty damn. Good show.
I loved it, man. Yeah,
that was a pretty damn good show. That and was the other show that I was thinking about. You ever seen the original 4400?
Oh, the original one, yeah, the one that was first aired back in USA back in the day. Yeah,
yeah, not the CW teenagers.
Yeah, not the CW one. Yeah.
Anyway. All right, guys, we'll wrap up here, and hopefully we'll be back soon. I'm thinking end of June is right around the corner, so probably one more stream in a couple weeks. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So thanks for hanging, guys, and we're going to end the stream here. All right.
Yeah. Parking in the harbor, baby.
I want to thank Daniel Fisher for joining us and Felicity. And Texas Bob. Yeah.
Yes, baby.
We'll see you next time. Is it?